It's director Matt Johnson. Matt, who would you like to bring up here?
Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. We're lucky because we all live in this city, so everybody who made this movie more or less is here tonight. I'll bring them up quickly. First, I want to introduce sort of the godfather of this. His name's Matt Miller. He was sort of the lead producer on this, and he was the adult and did all the hard work. And without him, there would literally be no movie. So give him a big round of applause. He's the best. And next, I want to bring up a guy who's actually, oddly enough, sort of been my longest creative contributor in a weird way. Like, Jared Rabb was the cinematographer of this movie and one of the producers, and he and I started Nirvana the Band, the show, together with Jay McCarroll, and we basically just took everything we learned and made this movie, so. And then, maybe the guy who creatively contributed the most to this, who basically prevented this from becoming Nirvana the Band, episode 11. Evan Morgan, the smartest of our whole crew. He was the co-writer and co-camera, co-everything on this. And it was basically the four of us and Owen in a basement for, what, 2 months? Anyway, give him a round of applause. Yeah, of course. And so, yeah, this was basically it in terms of who made the movie that wasn't cast, but of course Owen is here. Owen, get up here, man. Come on. And then I haven't seen everybody, but I know that Krista Madison, who played Chrissy, is here. Are you here, Chrissy? You want to come up here with us? I don't know if you're still here. She pieced. Oh, she really hates this movie, so she left. And then Brandon Winkins, I know, is here, as well as Dave Matheson, who plays the teacher, and I think does an amazing job. And this was his first time ever seeing this movie, so I'm actually interested to hear what he says. Do you guys want to come up here? If you're here, just so people can see it. Yeah, we'll move over. Anyway, thanks again for coming. It's so weird for us because we've screened this movie so many times. This is like, probably the 25th time that we've screened this, and we've never been able to screen it in Toronto, like in a public way. So this is like really a coming home for us. But of course, we're so bored of this movie now. It's such old news to us. But anyway, we're gonna act so fresh. Just watch.
Well, I'm gonna start off the question, the Q&A with. I think the scope of the film, despite being an intimate movie, is very impressive from just the sheer amount of extras that you have going on and the fact that you're shooting in a high school. And I wonder if you could speak to the process of actually shooting this movie. How many people knew they were in a movie, for instance?
It was a good mix. I'd say it rounded up to be about half. So everybody here obviously knew that they were in a movie. Anybody who died knew that they were in a movie. Oh wait, I didn't bring up Josh Bowles. Josh, are you here? He's probably in the bathroom. Josh, come up here. The guy who had the idea to make this movie in the first place, who called me and said, "Hey, Johnson, you should make a movie where you're crazy." And literally sort of came up with the whole idea for this. And also the guy who gets shot at the end, who grabs my hand and won't let go. Based off a thing he really did to me, first year film school. He really did do that to me, to haze me. But yeah, it's an even mix. So I mean, I think you could probably tell, like those kids at the beginning, those kids had no idea we were filming them. And in fact, the only time that any of us, other than Miller, has seen them was when we shot and they walked away, and none of us have ever seen them again. They had no clue they were in a movie ever, and Miller was able to, was it you or Jared who did this? Yeah, he printed screenshots of their faces and just canvassed schools around the area where we filmed to try to get releases from them. So that was totally real.
It wasn't creepy. It wasn't creepy.
But what's cool, I think this is one of the coolest things that happens when you make a movie like this, is that those kids were making a real movie, and they really were sort of keyed up about it. And they just, when they found out that we had made this movie and we were releasing it, they gave us a copy of that movie that they were making at the beginning called The Visitor, and we're going to put it on our DVD. So you'll be able to see the movie that they made. Yeah, that's right. And in fact, what's cool is we all just saw it last week for the first time, and they clearly didn't finish shooting it then, and so there's a point in the movie where all of them are like a year and a half older. They go through puberty, and the main guys are like giants. They look completely different, so... But otherwise, it was, you know what, it would be nice to get a perspective of someone like Matheson on this, because You probably experienced it different than us because we didn't even tell you what was going on.
No, I had no idea. No, I had no idea. There was a weird feeling I had. I didn't know what we were doing from pretty much the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, neither did he.
I did, because, I forget how I got in touch with you folks. It might have been, I answered an ad and I auditioned, and then a year later we made the movie, but it was all like, who are these people and what are we doing?
I don't remember.
So,
How much did we tell you? Like, how much did you...
Nothing.
Really?
No, I just knew I was a teacher and you were students, and that was pretty much it. No plot, nothing. Yeah. So it was crazy. On set, I was always going, "What's this about? Where's this all going?" Even tonight, I was like, "Do I die?" I have no idea. I've seen the film before, so I don't know. Maybe I die. So it's been interesting.
That was always the funny thing, is most of the people, when you see the school scenes, nobody knew that Matt was making the movie because he looked like a student.
Well, they didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Owen and I would just be in scenes with wireless microphones in schools, and nobody would know anything because Jared and Evan would be so far away from them with really long lenses, like really long cameras, and so, what were they to think? Like, if we were just walking around talking or getting shoved or pulling out a gun and killing somebody. It's just, no.
Why are those two adults being bullied in our hallway? I think that's why it looks so real. It's like, who the fuck are those kids and why are they getting their ass kicked by those other adults? I mean, there's so much. I understand you guys captured a ton of footage, and a lot of it was sort of finding the movie as you went along. How did you manage the trajectory? I understand there's a lot of different endings that you considered and weighed at certain points in the production, and I just want to know about what the process was to eventually coming to the decision of how to end the movie.
Well, it changed mostly because of the budget. We didn't think we had the money to shoot the ending that we wanted to shoot, where Josh's original idea was that it's just this full 20-minute carnage-fueled bloodbath, and that's what we sort of went into it thinking that it was going to be. But we quickly realized that we couldn't do that with no money, and so when we were trying to get it finished in time for TIFF, we shot all of these really quick endings. I mean, you probably remember those, Krista, when we were in that school. We were actually Owen is a high school teacher, and we had exhausted all the school sets that we'd gone to. We couldn't go back to them. So we had to go to the school where he was currently a teacher.
I don't work there anymore.
No, and had to shoot these endings, and they weren't violent. We shot all these really weird things. We shot one where I get together with Chrissy. We shot one which was actually Evan's dad's idea. We shot all these different variations because we thought we didn't have the money to end it the way that we wanted to. But then when we watched that version of the movie, we were like, this sucks, we screwed up so bad. So then we found a way to shoot it really cheap. And that take that you see, that end shot, is really the single take that we got where that worked, because we didn't have enough money to shoot it more than 2 or 3 times. And the first 2 screwed up. So we only had that one take, and I remember Brandon, you killed yourself. By the 3rd take, because he had to fall and lay dead for 2 minutes, Josh as well, and they were just so covered in bruises because we had to, we couldn't put down pads or anything. We had to do it really real.
Boozy made us get knee pads for him midday.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Let's go bad knees.
Anyway, does anybody have any questions about this story? Feel free to ask us anything. I'm sure a lot of our friends are out there.
There's a question right over there.
Was there supposed to be, I know you never really distinguished whether or not there was somebody holding the camera, and when you get in a fight between you two guys at one point in your basement, you are saying that you only hang out with the other one, but you're constantly talking to the camera at the same time. Was that supposed to be your psychopathic view of the situation?
It's funny, I've answered this question probably 35 times. Every single film festival we screen at, this is always the first question people ask us about who the cameramen were and why. Yeah, oh no, I don't know. You're smart. You're literally. I think that's the question on everybody's minds when they watch this movie. And I think in many ways that's sort of the point, is that you're supposed to be wondering what that is, because we had a lot of different ways of presenting how this movie was being made, who these cameramen were, and we had answers for those things that we had thought about and that we even shot. But in the end, we decided to make this question apparent in the audience's mind. Because we think what's happening is you as an audience are put in the position of complacency and kind of involvement with these characters because you don't have an identity of the cameraman. I know that sounds pretentious and sort of ridiculous, but we watched the other version of this where we had like an opening 15 minutes that explained a lot of these things, and it was just ridiculously bad.
Well, what we found is that the more you explained who the cameramen were, the more you could sit back and be like, oh, I can't believe these guys are still shooting. And all the way through the end, that's all you're thinking about is, I can't believe he's still with him. I can't believe the camera's still following him, which is in that end sequence that you can't have the audience asking that.
Right.
It
And
ruins it.
they were the cameramen,
Like these two, these are the people I was talking to. So I'm like, Jared, do you think this is a good idea? Or I'm like, Jared, you screwed up that shot. Or I'm like, Jared, you really screwed up that shot really, really, really bad. Like I'm always just talking with him and...
I was perfect.
Yeah, Evan was good. Evan was really good, except for when we had to shoot the stuff in the quarry with the guns. He was not cool with that. Any other questions? Yeah.
When it came to coordinating the last scene, how many of those kids actually knew what the movie was about?
Oh, yeah.
From the school about the simulated murder?
No, actually, Miller should talk about that because that was shot at his school. The question was like what the kids in the final scene knew if they were just there for their...
Were the teachers pissed that you were shooting a school shooting movie in their school? Or
They were, when you're making movies with no money, you do whatever you can. So we traded like a full day film workshop to get a bunch of grade 9 kids out on a Saturday. And it was my old high school. I know there's some old Thornley people in the house. There's one. And I just went to my old drama teacher I hadn't seen in like 15 years and say, we're shooting this movie. And like we said, we kind of ran out of high schools because I think we used 5 or 6 different ones in the movie. And so they all knew that we had like a cop on set and he, and the guys with the guns sort of do like a breakdown and tell them, you know, what's going on. But we shot that, you know, not during school hours. That was 100% staged. So the trick was kind of matching that with the stuff that wasn't staged and making it all seem cohesive.